Earlier this week, I interviewed a water sommelier. Yes, there's something called a water sommelier. And now I'm talking to the Dinkum product, the real deal. I'm becoming a wine sommelier and doing blind taste testing. Because this month, Stellenbosch Wine Route, they'll be hosting their first ever sommelier bootcamp. And as you may know, a sommelier's main responsibility is to advise and to suggest to diners, customers, what wines go with their meal. They curate wine lists that is supposed to complement a chef's offerings, and it's not necessarily someone with a large wine collection. I'm a KWB 5-year-old branding person myself, not necessarily a wine person per se, but that is where I reside. So I'm getting first dibs on experiencing the wine sommelier bootcamp. Joining me in studio is Elmarie Rabe. She's the manager at Stellenbosch Wine Route, as well as Roxan Waldeck. She is a sommelier and certified SASA facilitator. Not that kind of SASA. Sommelier is not that other type of SASA, but the South African Sommelier Association. Good morning, Roxanne. Elzby, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Shoo,
Yes.
got caught in some traffic there.
Yeah, it's crazy, all the way from the winelands to Cape Town. But it's always a good journey to come over
And
this
I can
side.
see we're
Good
going to
morning.
relax over the next half hour. But I've been told, Lester, you cannot swallow. You have to spit, and I have my little spittoon. Yeah, but tell us about the boot camp and why is it being offered? I understand for the first time now, a sommelier boot camp for any average Joe and Jane to say, I want to learn a bit more about wine and food pairings, Elzby.
Absolutely. So Stellenbosch is the heartland of the South African wine industry. We have been setting the way for many years. In fact, last year we celebrated our 50th year of existence. And it's really, as I said, the heartland of the South African wine industry. And we wanted to offer something that sort of explains the wine language of Stellenbosch. So we recently launched a little tool where we speak about the terroir, all the geeky stuff. When you love wine and you want to, you really want to understand where it comes from, what the roots are and what the influence of the area is. So we developed a tool for that. And then on the back of that, so it's a little publication. So on the back of that, we said, right, so we've got this thing. Now let's talk to wine enthusiasts, people that's passionate about the area and about wine, that knows a little bit about wine and want to have a deeper understanding. And that's where the bootcamp comes from.
And being a sommelier, Roxanne, it's not just knowing a little thing about wine, it's also knowing a little thing about food, sweet, savory, salty, umami, all that, and how that pairs with wine. It's not just being a winophile, it's also knowing a thing or two about food as well.
Yeah, those are the basic components of a dish. You'll have some umami, sweet and sour. As a sommelier, you also have to look at the whole dish. What type of meat is it? What cut is it? What's the sauce? What's the veg? How is the veg cooked? What are the elements on the dish? How much of it is savory? How much of it is sweet? And then you match your wine.
Does the rule still apply? And the old adage, if it's red meat, a red wine. If it's a poultry or if it's a fish, then it must be a crisp white.
For me, there's enough rules as it is, and especially with wine. So yeah, sure. If you want to go that route, you can, but it doesn't have to be that way. For example, you can have a nice rich ribeye steak that's gone under the grill, right? Put a nice dollop of like a nice butter that's been maybe infused with some spices, and that melts on the top. So you would think maybe you have a red wine because it's steak, but actually a nice rich, full-bodied wooded Chardonnay that's got that weight and can stand up to that ribeye, then you do that, and you should let it work for you. So
I once went to one of these Whiskey Live festivals, Elzby and Roxanne, and there was the Grand Master of some Kentucky bourbon distillery.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everyone asks, what is the best way to drink your whiskey? Is it with just a drop of water to let those molecules disperse. You have to check the legs. Can I have it with a little bit of salt? Is it round ice? Is it square ice? Do you know what the man said? If you want to have your whiskey with root beer,
Do it.
do it. And those gasps and shocks and no. But this was the man, was the grandmaster of some distillery in Kentucky, and he says, you drink it the way you want to drink it. And that is essentially.
Yes.
But the knowledgeable people will say you can maybe taste a little bit better if you follow these guidelines, right, Roxanne?
Yes. Yeah, you know, with brandy, for example, brandy can be very aromatic. So if you're adding something else to that brandy, you steal a little bit of what the brandy has to offer that you can truly enjoy.
Why a boot camp? You're of course a facilitator in training programs, and you're offering from the Stellenbosch Wine Route side. What is the difference in a boot camp and, let's say, a qualified registered sommelier?
So if I can jump into there. So obviously we want to attract the likes of Roxanne. So sommeliers got a very wide and a wide knowledge and understanding, and they've sort of trained for that. But with Stellenbosch, or specifically Stellenbosch Bootcamp, is an intensive, immersive process. So, for example, if you know a little bit about Stellenbosch, you know that we've got 3 or 4 big mountain ranges. They are all different. When we talk about, and this is now the geeky stuff, when we talk about terroir and facing slopes, for example, some of the vine slopes will be facing west, some of it will be facing towards the sea, some of it's facing towards the north. So that's all these aspects are different, and believe it or not, there's an influence from the sun shining on it, from where the wind blows from. It's crazy. Yes,
the sun synthesizes
exactly
the sugars in this particular grape,
exactly,
which makes it a different
and
flavor
how many
profile.
minutes per day it gets exposure to sunlight. So we're looking at that, and obviously there's like all these different types of soil everywhere. So we're looking at the influence of soil, the aspects, how things are planted, and then the influence. So for example, when you look at the northern side of Stellenbosch, that's a warmer area, and the wines from that area is generally, or some of the white varietals, is richer. It's more tropical in nature or flavor component. When you're going to this most southern side of the Stellenbosch wine district, it's actually facing the sea. So that brings a little bit of a saltiness to it. It's more austere and linear, so it's much more mineral components into the wine tasting as opposed to the fruity side of it.
So in that respect, I know you're the Stellenbosch Wine Route. You could have a totally different profile just over Helswigter than what they have in Franschhoek.
Absolutely, yeah. So Franschhoek is over the other side of Helswigter, but so if you come from this side to that side, there's definitely a big influence with the region, the exposure to wind, the exposure to sun. It is quite insane. Once you go into this thing, it's like a whole rabbit hole. Once you start going and it's interesting, then it's like forever, just not stop.
Can I add a little bit to that,
Yes.
Elmarie? So in terms of how the actual wine will taste, depending on if it comes from Stellenbosch, let's say, or let's say a place like Paarl, right? So we know that Paarl is a lot hotter than Stellenbosch. So what that does for the wine is, if the place where it comes from is hotter, it means that those grapes develop more sugars because the sun's most now beating down on them. And so if the grape is developing more sugar, at the end of it, when you make the wine, there's going to be more alcohol that comes as a result of all that sugar. Whereas with Stellenbosch, it's a little bit cooler. So generally, there's going to be less sugar in the grape. And so generally, the alcohol in the wines from Stellenbosch are going to be lower than in Paarl. So what that means when you taste the wine is a wine from Paarl or Wellington is going to be a lot more fuller, a lot more heavier, a little bit more alcoholic. The color is going to be a lot more dense than a wine that comes from Stellenbosch. Are you with me?
I'm with you. How long does this process take? So you're an accredited sommelier, certified SASA facilitator. That means you're a trainer. How long should this process? And we're going to try and do it within 10, 15 minutes. But how long, and I know that's even much shorter than what this boot camp is, Elmarie, but how long does one take to be a certified sommelier?
I didn't think that would be such a hard question.
How long did
But,
you? How long was it?
To become a sommelier, it really depends a lot on you as a person, how much you're willing to learn, how much you're willing to invest in teaching yourself, whether it is applying for a course and doing that, which can take any amount of months or days. It depends on how long you work in a restaurant and how many you work in them. It depends on how much time you invest actually going for tastings. But I want to say to anybody who is thinking about it, don't rush the process. Take it on your own time.
So the boot camp is merely just essentially an introduction. You're not going to be invited to work in a fine dining restaurant
You never
after
know.
this. You never know, of
Yeah,
course. you
maybe
could-
we find some.
That would be
Very-
wonderful, actually.
Yes, that would be a wonderful outcome. But yes, so the boot camp is one of the layers. So it would be one of the little courses that you do on top of or in the middle of sommelier qualification.
As an added boost.
Exactly. Yes.
So let's get tasting, and I'll be spitting in a spittoon because, of course, let's be responsible. So you have a few bottles here as presentation. We don't have a working kitchen at the moment, so we're substituting fine dining with some fine chocolates.
Yes.
Today, where are these chocolates from? And have you also selected these chocolates in relation to what we are going to be trying today?
Yes, absolutely. So what I've actually done is, Roxanne is going to take you through some other interesting wine tastings, but what we are doing today is we're actually showcasing one of the existing products of Lanzerac Wine Estate, and it's called a wine and chocolate pairing. So these chocolates have been crafted and curated specifically for these wines. So the 5 Lanzerac wines on the table have been matched with those wines.
I see.
So they look at the flavor components, they look at the structure, everything else, and then they match these things. So when you look at the chocolates, and maybe you and Roxanne can talk about it more, but there's things like white chocolate ganache and pineapple, or with strawberries and cream, or with vanilla and hazelnut. So bringing out the
to be honest,
is-
the wines look great, but the chocolates,
chocolates is even
that
better.
has my heart. I'm sorry.
Thankfully, you don't have to choose between the two today.
So we can
yeah, you can do everything.
Oh, 25 minutes past 11 o'clock. We are talking about, and we're trying. I'm going to give you your time. So we are going to, chew the fat for the next 4 minutes before we get into it. We'll go to Eyewitness News, and then we'll spend the rest of a half an hour on Lester Tester trying. And I'm going to be trying to be a trained sommelier within, 15 minutes? Johannes, Barry, well, let's see what we can do, because we're talking about the Stellenbosch Wine Route hosting the first ever sommelier boot camp. If you'd like to apply, apparently it ends today. The application process ends today.
Yes.
Elmarie.
But because you will be inspiring so many people to explore the Somme journey, we're going to extend it to Monday.
There we go. Thanks
Whatever
to the
that-
morning review.
There
Just
you go.
remind us, how do people, if they aren't already inspired already, how do they apply to the boot camp?
So you go to, there's a special sort of what we call a landing page. It's called somm.wineroute.co.za. There's a form there that it talks a little bit about the boot camp, what you can expect. Then you go to apply now. It's an online form that you fill in, and you upload a 2-minute maximum video, just sharing your love for wine, where you will be using this information, why you must be chosen. So it's a little bit of a motivational interview.
What if someone is an absolute fine wine Philistine? Like my producers have put here on my instruction sheet, can Lester tell the difference between a Sauvignon Blanc from a Shiraz? I couldn't tell the difference between a Tim Jan of a Tassis. Of course I could, but really, what if you were a complete wine philistine? Could you be taught from the ground up?
So we will, I love those kind of challenges. So we will...
You love the Tim Jan reference.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to taste the difference between Tim Jan and something else. But I think those kind of challenges are interesting. I want to tell you a story, and we're going way off course now.
It's fine,
but a few weeks ago, or maybe a few months ago, I attended a Cap Classique workshop or class. They've got some these courses running. And as we were sitting at the farm or in the classroom on the Saturday morning, we went around the table, each introduced ourselves. The last guy to start talking was, and he had said, "I'm from," I can't say the word, the LP, Gabberta. So he was from there. He got on a bus the night before in his hometown, drove overnight to Stellenbosch to come to this tasting, and he hasn't booked his way yet, but he's going to book his way back to his hometown as soon as this is over. And this whole thing was 2 or 3 hours. And he knows nothing about wine, but he's super passionate about it, and he just wanted to do this thing. So he made, in my mind, and I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it now, he made a massive investment. He bought a ticket, he paid 700 or 800 or 900 rand for this day experience, and then he's going back. So that really inspired me, and I loved it. So I said to him, stay in Stellenbosch for the night. We will fly you back the next day. We'll put you up in a hotel the night. And that night was also fortunate that there was some really interesting wine event taking place that talks about youth development and leadership, etc. So I got him a ticket to the gala dinner. He went with some friends, and that for me is really where the nuggets are lying.
Because I prefer the argument, and of course we are responsible in this particular setting and this particular industry. But I truly believe that the wine business is an agricultural business. It is a farming business. The fermented grape juice at the end of the day is although you enjoy it, it is the byproduct. But this is an agricultural industry. Now we get particularly young black people into an agricultural industry. They're very much better for the broader industry, Elmarie.
Absolutely, and this is where things like a wine and chocolate pairing comes in. It makes wine a little bit more accessible. So we talk about the flavor components, and we talk about all these things and why it matches, but also it's an easy route because you have chocolate and wine, which is a weird combination, but it works.
Roxanne, they are intimidated about talking about tannins and sulfates, and can you taste the wood and the cherry? And
because in our day-to-day lives, we don't use words like tannin and sulfur and Brettanomyces and Saccharomyces. We don't use those kinds of words day to day.
Tastes lekker, that's what we say.
Well, it depends. Brettanomyces, That's a whole other topic.
Okay, in studio with us, Elmarie Rabe, manager at the Stellenbosch Wine Route, also Roxan Waldeck. She's a sommelier and certified SASA facilitator. Over the next 15 minutes, will be put through my paces in a very truncated version of the sommelier bootcamp, which, thanks to us, applications have been extended till Monday. So if you'd like to apply, we'll give you some details at the end of this. But, Roxanne, let's start at the first things first, in opening a bottle of wine. So, there are many ways to open a bottle of wine, Roxanne. And I'm going to tell you what, if you're very, very thirsty, just pop your corks.
No. Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Okay, you're going to make a cut here first.
Okay, but now remember that everybody can't see. So when you say here, they don't know what that
What's
means.
that top lip?
So a lot of bottles, if you look, has got a lip on the top, and then it's got a lip like a second lip, like a little bit of a dent, right? So when you open the bottle, rather don't open it on the top lip.
Why not?
Because if you look closely, you'll see that there's almost like metal dust, right?
Yes.
Like here.
I see.
So if you
little
pour-
serrated little
Right.
edge here
Yeah.
of where you've cut.
So if you pour this now into your glass, you're obviously going to pour some of this metal dust, and that's going to go into your brain, and it's just
I'm
no.
more worried about the
No.
wine affecting my brain.
No.
Okay.
Then it'll probably be the last bottle of wine that you ever have. So no. So when you open a bottle of wine, you cut it at the bottom, the second lip. Yeah. Am I supposed to do that now?
Let me
Okay,
try.
so you
this
do
is,
it.
This is my job. So
Okay.
I'm not.
Yes. Go.
You looking at me as if I was.
I'm not
a
looking at
child.
you.
Okay. Cutting.
Can I give you a pointer very quickly? No. Continue. So you're doing a great job, right? So Lester, try to keep that knife as close to that lip as possible, and like really give it a grip. Give it a grip.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
use force.
Yeah, give it a grip. Keep going.
That's why. That's why.
Do you see this? Do you see this dust that we were talking about?
Yes.
So you don't
Okay,
want that.
okay.
And
So
now,
I've done
no,
that now.
No,
So,
come.
oh gosh, you know.
So now you want to cut.
himself.
Lester, listen.
Myself, yes.
So now you want to cut. Make a cut upwards. Cut upwards.
Please be careful.
Yes. You can do it again. Right. Go again.
You need to
Okay.
penetrate.
So
Or maybe
then
Suzanne,
slide
maybe
the knife in
Roxanne can help
between
you
there.
Okay,
here.
then slide it between the.
Roxanne, you just help that little bit.
Okay, there we go. And I use my.
So now put the knife in there again.
See, you need a
Put it in
degree in
there.
opening a bottle.
Right.
Why is this so difficult?
It's
That's
not
why you become a
difficult.
sommelier.
And then you can just peel it off. And you use your knife to peel it off, because otherwise you're going to cut yourself.
There you go.
Good job.
Oh, look, within
Good
5
job.
minutes.
There. Okay,
And
there.
then
Okay, there.
he's got
I've
it.
ripped it off. Okay,
Nice.
cork is there.
Yes.
I'm also absolutely hopeless when uncorking bottles because when it goes.
So Lester, first, this. So hold it like you mean it. Right? So it's going to be like this.
Is this it really is a bootcamp? This sounds like the
This
army.
is the proper way to do it.
Elmarie, you just...
There is no niceties here.
Yes, there are. It's in the bottle. Okay?
We need
Focus.
to get it out.
This is like the army.
So put the worm in the middle of the cork. Not like that. Hold it like this.
Okay.
Okay? And use your other hand. Yes. So in the center, we keep the bottle steady on the table. Right? So now when you... Great. So now push down a little bit and twist.
There you go.
There's it. Good job. And then keep going. Now you don't have to push this down because it's a corkscrew. It's spiral. It does it on its own. So just
Drill
twist.
sergeant.
Just twist.
She's fabulous.
She is
That's-
absolutely amazing, but
There's it.
this feels very much army instructor. Okay, how far?
Okay, good question. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going until there's a little bit further. A little bit there.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so this is perfect. Good job.
Well done.
So now this is usually the hard part for a lot of people.
Yes, this is the hard part for me because when I pull it goes
It's
everywhere.
not a music video. Okay?
It's not popping bottles.
So it's not popping bottles. So you can see that this is moving. This is right. So you obviously have got to take this cork out. So you're looking for some kind of leverage, right? So where do you think it's going to be?
Right there.
Yes,
Give me
right.
a lever long enough and
Right.
I'll move the world.
Okay.
sis.
So then
Oh,
what?
look
And
at
then
you.
what's going to happen here?
I'm going to pull up on the...
No, we're not going to pull up because this
It's one
must
step
now
before.
sit there, right? How are you going to get it to sit
You
there?
reverse.
No.
No.
You just
Okay, so we want to do something like that. Do you understand? You with
I've
me?
never...
common sense.
Really? Makes absolutely sense.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay,
Now.
so now go slow. So pull this up. Okay.
Until it's
Great.
There we
Okay, so
go.
now look. It can't go any further, right?
Yes.
So you're looking for more leverage,
Yes.
right? Where are you going to find more leverage?
up. That's right. Push it down.
Push it. Where?
You're going there.
And there we go. This is the easiest I've ever opened a bottle of wine before.
Wow.
And
Well
it's
done.
Okay.
Yeah,
So now I
chocolate
want
for
you to
you.
do something for me.
Yes.
I want you to smell that. Does it smell okay?
It does smell okay.
So that means that the wine is
It's
okay.
this smells very, very
So
good.
that means the wine is going to be fine.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, we've opened up a bottle. Now I've been put in my place of how to open up a bottle. Now we're going to go through the pairing. Where do we start? And is the rule you start, and will you teach people to start from light to dark? Is that the rule? Is it from red to white? Or white
so,
to red?
So it's usually a good idea to start with the lightest wines first. So let's say you've got like sparkling wine, and then you've got a Sauvignon Blanc, and
Okay.
you've got a Chardonnay. So Chardonnay out of those wines are going to be the heaviest out of the white wines. So you keep that for last. Rather start with something like a sparkling wine or Sauvignon Blanc. It's lighter. It's easier on your palate.
What's the first lesson to, obviously people who would be coming to a boot camp would have, most sense, have some sort of relationship with wine already. So how do you start in terms of, what is the first lesson? Is it opening up
How
the
do you
bottle?
mean?
What was the first lesson when you went on
for
day
the-
1, hour 1?
Okay.
What you talking to people?
Yeah, so our boot camp assumes that people do know a little bit about wine, unless they know nothing, and we'll treat that differently. But we first start on day 1. It's about what is Stellenbosch, what does it look like, what are the different aspects, the regions, the sub-regions, etc. So it's a sort of a bird's eye view of what's happening inside. Then we kick off the very first session after the welcome is going to be food and wine pairing session with lunch. And then we start going into the different regions. So you will be going, for example...
So you're transported there physically
Exactly.
to the various...
So you stay in Stellenbosch. We've got everybody stays at the same accommodation. You get transported to the region. There you can actually put your hand in the soil. Viticulturists and viniculturals will speak to you. They'll explain. You'll see. You'll feel the wind on your face. And then we go down and sit down to a mega tasting. So you'll have all the different wines showcasing the area, etc., etc. And that process is repeated every day.
Every day.
Yeah. The last day is like an exam and presentation day. So you give a presentation as to what you've learned, what you'll be doing, etc., and then certificates and pins.
My body is
Let's
ready.
go.
What's the first one and what's the first chocolate? Because that's what this
Okay.
is all about.
So
for me.
so the first chocolate is pineapple and...
Sea salt.
It's pineapple and sea salt. White chocolate.
And what
and
does
then the
this go
second-
with?
So this is going to go with the Sauvignon Blanc.
That you've taken it out.
Sauvignon Blanc is taken out. What do you know about Sauvignon Blanc? What do you know?
It's a white wine.
Are you sure?
You tell me it's
Elmarie's
not.
Elmarie's no. Elmarie's teasing you. Okay, yes. So
I'm
Sauvignon
misdirecting.
Blanc, it is a white wine. And Sauvignon Blanc is known for having a certain kind of flavor profile. So now, of course, if you have a Sauvignon Blanc like this one is from Lanzac, which is superb, and you have another Sauvignon Blanc from somewhere else, they are going to taste a little bit different. But there's like a base point.
A flavour profile.
A flavor
Yeah.
profile. Thanks, Elmarie, that Sauvignon Blanc has. So you're looking at... I almost don't want to tell you.
Well, let's
So that you can...
try.
Shall we
That-
pour?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the process.
Okay,
to
so
taste.
Esther
this
wants
is-
to get into this.
So this is the Lanzac Sauvignon Blanc, and the vintage is a 2021.
Okay.
Do you know?
Do you educate around years and vintages and?
Yes, that's very important because every vintage is different, and every vintage is different because every year the weather of that year is different. So like Elmarie was saying earlier on, sea influences and wind and rain, every year that's different, which means that the vintage is going to be different because those things have
A
an effect in the
warmer
vineyard.
year means a sweeter wine. Is that correct?
I would
As
say
you say in
maybe a
terms-
more
More
alco-
tropical.
more tropical.
In terms of flavor,
Yeah.
yes, definitely more,
Okay.
definitely more tropical.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
We are doing Leicester Tester. You can watch us live on our Facebook page. Simply tune in. You can just log on there. If you have an experience with being a sommelier or training, how was it? Or maybe you are interested in training, or at least being a boot camper in this process, you can give us a call, 021 446 0567. The Lanzac Sauvignon Blanc with a pineapple flavor and sea salt chocolate.
So, Lester, first we're gonna just taste the wine so that we know
Okay.
what we're dealing
Are
with.
you
So-
doing swirl and
so
legs
yeah,
and all
let's
that?
do the whole thing because that's what it means. So
You really are
so,
drill sergeant.
So
too.
first, look at the color. So take your page there
Okay.
and then turn it around. And if you hold the glass up to a white background, you can see what the color is, right?
Yes.
So what color do you see?
Pale yellow.
It's a pale yellow.
It's
Thanks,
a pale yellow.
Elmarie. It's a pale yellow.
Elmarie is not coming to my classes. So
It's
we're looking
yellow,
at a
green,
pale
blue,
yellow
and
colour.
red. It's primary
Okay.
colours and
It's
everything
not
in,
red.
in
It's not
between.
red.
Well, that's what
But
primary
it
colours
is
are.
it is a little bit of yellow, and there's a slight green tinge.
Yes, I
Okay,
see.
so those are typical characteristics of a Sauvignon Blanc.
Mm-hmm.
So that we call the appearance of the wine. So now we want to nose the wine.
I knows this one. I've known.
And take a nice. Oh, you nose the. Take a deep breath
And
through
breathe
your
through-
nose. Through your nose.
No, but isn't it through your mouth?
It's not
because
through
you
your
feel
mouth.
over your. Okay.
What are you smelling, Nesta? What are you smelling?
I'm trying to locate. It's a little grassy.
Grassy is very good. Yes.
I'm smelling
Do you
grass.
smell any fruit? Can I give you a hint?
Go ahead.
When you smell the wine, open your mouth just a little bit to get a little more of that. Just a little bit.
This
this is high-grade stuff.
Yes, it is very high
What
grade.
fruit do you smell?
To be honest, I cannot locate.
Can I
that
ask you this
particular
then?
sensory memory of
Is
what.
it a red fruit? Red fruit she's getting, or yellow fruit?
It's a yellow fruit, like an
Good.
apricot maybe.
Apricot is very good.
Mm,
What other yellow fruits do you imagine when you
banana.
smell? Banana. We're gonna park banana. We're gonna park it.
so mean.
But thank you.
I shouldn't be laughing.
This is a bootcamp. You are so mean. Okay, it's not a banana. It may be apricot. It's some sort of deciduous, pitted fruit.
So we're looking at
Pineapple,
a little bit
maybe.
of pineapple, but usually for Sauvignon Blanc, there's quite a bit of citrus fruit. So you're looking at some limes,
Oh, some lime
oftentimes
indeed.
some lemons, and usually green apples.
Okay.
So
okay.
so think about this. We've said lemons, limes, and we've said green apples. What does that group of fruit? What do they have in common?
Lemons, limes, and
And like a fresh green apple, what do they have in common?
lemons, limes, or citrus. Apple, the sour profile.
Elmarie is not.
But
coming
she's
to
helping
my
me out
class.
because you are so mean.
No.
Because this is stress.
Roxanne is a
Okay,
specialist.
so think now, as they've got acidity in common, right?
Yes, they're quite sour.
Yes.
Granny Smith apples
We're gonna maybe let's taste it because I'm gonna bring you back to acidity and then how it fits in to where Sauvignon Blanc usually comes from. Remembering what Elmarie said earlier on about weather and climate
Yes.
and all that stuff. So are you ready to?
I'm ready to
taste
have
it?
a sip, and while I sip this,
So can I give you just a hint as you sip it? So don't take a small, and you've got your spittoon.
yes,
So rather don't just sip it because you want to almost chew on the
you're
wine.
going to fill your
Okay.
mouth with it.
And then you don't have to swallow it. Don't have to swallow it. So chew on the wine a little bit. Okay? Got it? Okay, pay attention to what's going on there. And then spit.
First thing in the morning.
That's really-
Okay, so what's happening there?
It's very much to the front middle of my tongue,
Yes?
which I feel a sharpness, almost
Okay,
as the
good.
top of my tongue wants to shrivel. It's like throwing salt on a snail.
And then
It's
it
pulling back a little bit. I've described
Okay.
it quite nicely there.
Yes, you have. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about acid.
Yes.
Okay, so usually when people say that the wine is sour, they actually are referring to acid. Just as a heads up. Coming back to acid, so the reason why the wine is acidic is because there's so much I want to tell you. So it's acidic because Sauvignon Blanc usually comes from a cooler climate. So in a climate that is cooler, there's less sun, which means that in the vineyard, it's colder. So because the sun isn't there, those sugars don't
Haven't
develop.
synthesized the sugars in
Yes,
the grape.
and so the alcohol hasn't developed, and so instead, the acidity is retained. Yes.
We're gonna run. So
Yes.
let me taste some chocolate
Okay.
with us, and then we'll go to
So
a
let's
break,
do that.
and then we'll come back. So we're
So let's do
trying.
that. So we're trying the pineapple, the
This
white
this I
chocolate
can swallow.
with pineapple and sea salt flavor. So when you taste this one, when you taste the chocolate, you remember that the chocolate is creamy and the wine is acidic. So those two things are going to balance one another out,
Okay.
and that is why a pairing works.
Okay.
Okay. We don't cement mix, eh? So first,
She
Chew and
prevented
swallow.
me from taking a bite and taking a swallow. She's so nasty.
so let the food coat you.
Oh, this is nice
enough.
chocolate.
It's nice, eh? Okay. So there's stuff going on there. There's a texture. There's a little bit of sweetness, right? Can you taste the pineapple?
I can taste the pineapple and
Wonderful.
it's totally cancel all that acidity.
Right? And so now, let's take a sip of the wine.
After I take a sip of wine, we'll go to a break, Johannes. We will be back with Lester Tester.
So good. How does that feel for you? Like, how does it feel in your...
A joyous
It's good,
occasion.
right?
A joyous occasion in my mouth. We've tried some white. We're going to try some red. But you want to tell me and show me when it doesn't work. And this is what
Yeah.
being a sommelier is about,
Yeah.
is comparing and plating together complementary ones. Well, what happens if it doesn't complement?
So in the same way that you intuitively knew that these two that we just stated worked, you will know when something else doesn't work. You might not understand that the components of it clash. I'm going to talk about that, but inherently you will know something doesn't work, and we're going to see why. So what we already know about the Sauvignon Blanc is that it's quite acidic,
Yes.
right? So let's take a bite of this dark chocolate. So the flavor, this is the Lanzerac
Those are
dark ganache
There's a classic dark
Caramel
chocolate,
flavour?
a bit bitter.
with pepper. Okay, so bitterness.
Bitter, there's a little bit of pepper
Yeah. Okay.
in there as well.
So the bitterness is an important aspect in your mind. Do you think something that is bitter and something that is acidic?
No, it's going to clash completely.
So that's coated your palate, right?
So let me try it with some of the Sauvignon Blanc. Let's swirl it again and.
Here's another one.
Oh. And now it's stayed on my tongue. It lingers. It doesn't flow. It's not.
What is left on your
washed
palate
away.
afterwards? What's happening on your tongue? What does that feel like and taste like?
It is the bitterness of the dark chocolate on my top palate,
The same for me.
and my cheeks are coated with the. It hasn't washed away as if.
Yeah. And how does your tongue feel? Dry?
It does feel dry,
Yeah.
yes. So this is how you advise a diner. Like, I feel for a bottle of red, but I want to eat this, and then you're going to tell them, well, this is how it's going to make, in terms of the physiology of your mouth, how it's going to make you feel.
I think it's important as a sommelier to be mindful of how you're describing the thing that the other person is just about to eat. So, for example, if there's lamb sweetbreads, which is it's not really what you think it is. In order to convey that to a guest who might not know what lamb sweetbreads are, and you're telling them, you have to do it in a way that makes them want to really look forward to enjoying that meal. So with food and wine pairing, using words like bitter or sour, you want to move away from that. Instead, what I would say, if I know that another dish might be better for them,
I see.
is to say,
Or another wine, yeah.
or
Because
another
it
wine,
was-
another wine, yeah.
Saying bitter, sour, sweet are very primary languages. You tell a child, "Oh, that's bitter, that's sweet." Sometimes it's all
It lands, but
it's all complexities. But if you tell someone, "Oh, that tastes bitter," I immediately will say, "Oh, I'm not gonna," or it will make your mouth feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And also at all times,
don't you want to try another one? Maybe
sorry, Elmarie,
Yeah.
Yes, we have
try
2
to-
minutes left.
Try to focus always on the positive description.
Okay, so 2 minutes left. A red now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think do that.
So
'Cause
the
that
next-
is-
the next
While
wine
she's
to try-
pouring, Elmarie, let us know if people are interested in this bootcamp. Remind us where they go to. You've extended the application simply just because of us.
Yes.
People could still apply to be part of this bootcamp 5-day course in Stellenbosch. How?
So go to somm.co.za stellenbosch.wineroute.co.za. It tells you a little bit about the course. It's an online application form. So prepare a little video which you can upload to YouTube. Share the link with us. Or actually, if you don't have a YouTube channel or can't set up the account, you can just do a WeTransfer and include the link in the application
Roxanne,
form.
you have literally 30 seconds to take me through this.
Okay, spit.
And then I think they're pairing this one, is it with the cherry and tobacco version?
It will still be with the caramel.
It will still be with the caramel. What's
Okay.
going on your palate?
It's a bit drier.
That's okay. That's
My teeth
so
are dry.
that is the tannin that all the sommeliers talk about.
Okay.
Not a big deal. So taste.
Okay.
Okay, so remember, yes, the chocolate is going to be a little bit bitter. The wine will have a bitterness as well,
Again, and
but they
there's-
will cancel one another out. The wine is fruity,
And there's a fruity in the ganache
right?
that now comes out. I think it's a brilliant experience. Something I definitely will take on. I'll come say goodbye after this. Elmarie Rabe, Roxan Waldeck, thank you so much. This is a great experience.
Such a pleasure.
Go and try it. Stellenbosch Wine Route, Sommelier Bootcamp. Reminded us again, Som with a double M.
Yes,
.wineroute.co.za. I'll come say
Correct.
goodbye after this.
The Morning Review with Lester Kiewit.
Only on Cape Talk.